Welcome back for another year, Gustav. It's a pleasure to have you with us for another season in Melody Life for Melo Podcast. Thank you very much for being with us.
Hola a todos, hablo en inglés, lo siento porque mi español es muy mal, pero I'm very happy to be here.
First of all, how are you and what has changed in your life in the last year?
Well, I'm great. Thank you for asking. I've been working yet again as last season for SVT on Mellopedia, the encyclopedia of Melodifestivalen, which is a big project that we started about 1 year ago, and it's half finished, I would say. But it's very useful according to a lot of people already. So I'm very happy about that, and we're continuing to make improvements.
Okay, so Gustav, how is the work of Mellopedia going?
We've been what we've been improving since last season. If you used it last season, you will recognize a lot of things, but the website is much faster technically. It was extremely slow just to load the pages last year, and now it will not go down as soon as we have a broadcast because of the traffic load and so on. So it will be much more useful and less frustrating. And apart from that, we haven't had the time this year to develop, add more historical information, just a little. But the 2023 information is there in a very thorough way. So I'm relatively happy, and it's a long-term project, so it's going to be extremely great when it's finished. And the website is, of course, mellopedia.svt.se.
Okay, thank you, Gustav. So we are going to ask you about novelties of Melfest 2023.
Yeah.
Okay, so first question is, what do you expect from this edition of Melody Festival in 2023? And another question is, what is new in this edition of Melfest?
Well, from this year musically, I know that the music is very open, folksy, strong melodies, bangers, stompers, that kind of stuff. So it will be very easy to access the music this year, I believe. And I think that Eurovision fans will like this. It's not narrow and difficult, but very, floor fillers and music that you can start to sing along to easily. Also, we have more foreign artists than we usually have. We have 3 foreign acts. So it would be interesting to see what happens there. And just a great party. And it's always very exciting to see what will happen in the contest. Of course, Loreen is in. So many different things to look forward to. Okay, so about what's new this year, there are some news compared to last year in Melodifestivalen. The main thing is probably that the semi-final has got itself a revamp in the competition format. Last year, in 2022, there were 2 halves in the semi-final, and the entries in these halves, 4 entries each, were competing against each other, but it was like 2 different competitions. But this year, they are all competing against each other. It's like a heat, basically. And we will know the points in the semifinal. So it will be very open. We will see all the facts. It will probably be felt like a fair competition format. So that's probably the most important change from last year.
So, okay, thank you, Gustav. So the hosts are the charming Farah Abadi, who hosted last year too, and Jesper Rondal, his first time as a host for the festival. So what are the criteria for choosing them?
Well, the hosts of Melodifestivalen are always chosen by the project managers and the management at SVT for Melodifestivalen. And it's a business in its own to choose hosts for TV shows. And it's basically that kind of process where they are testing different names and brainstorming who would be the right fit for this TV show. But this year it was relatively easy, I believe, because Farah Abadi she was actually not a host last year. She was a sidekick formerly. But she was so great as a sidekick that she eventually turned into effectively another host alongside Oscar Sia. So since she was so great, now she gets to be a host in name and not only practically. So I believe that was a fairly easy choice for the management. And then they just needed to add another one to change things around. And this time it's Jesper Rönndahl. He's a comedian, and he has really had nothing to do with Melodifestivalen previously. He has been hosting a lot of shows and a comedian. So I believe that the direction will be a lot of comedy in the hosting this year.
So thank you. The next question is the SVT share on its social channels as a first shot of the new stage. Can you tell us more about it?
So the stage is actually relatively similar to the last year, the stage of last year. It's a big stage. They have removed the second stage from 2022 that were in the middle of the arena in the audience. But they have a big stage. They have a stair up to the stage, which is a little bit different, and they changed the LED screens around a little bit. But the Victor Brattström, who creates the stage, actually says that we are trying to recycle stuff. So recycling has reached the Melodifestivalen stage mindset at this point. But it seems it's supposed to be, of course, as always, a stage that can change completely between the different performances, including interval acts. So they say that it should have 30 different looks.
Okay, so thank you. Another question related with the songs. Regarding the 28 songs, which songs will we find this year?
Well, we have a few names that stands out. I suppose Loreen is the obvious one. She's has the last starting position in the last heat. So she's the first one ever to have the last starting position in the last heat. Because she had that position in 2017 as well. So that says something about her star quality, because she put the act that has the biggest expectation on that position. We also have Jon Henrik Fjällgren. He was the Sami guy who's Joy King, and he has always been very successful, and he's back. And several other really successful acts that always makes it to the final. Mariette, Victoria, Tone Sekelius is also back, and she has been extremely popular since her debut last year. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. Marcus and Martinus also. It would be interesting to see what they can do. The Norwegian twins, who have been widely popular in Sweden and in Norway and some other countries. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff.
Okay, so thank you, Gustav. So related with these songs, can you see any song that could compete for the top 5 in the Eurovision Song Contest?
So yeah, definitely, I can definitely see that they can be contenders. We had obviously Cornelia Jacobs from last year who managed, and can't see why it wouldn't happen this year. You know, the stage show is so important, and we haven't seen the stage shows yet, and that could really make or break the entry. But you know, having Loreen in the lineup, if she has a great stage show too. Look at the songwriters for that song; they know what they are doing. Then we have 27 other entries apart from her. So hopefully we have something here to be able to compete for real in Eurovision. It would be so fun to be able to win.
Okay, so thank you, Gustav. And the other question is, within the 4 hit, what do you think is the most interesting one to follow? One or two? Or
I think this year actually the quality or you know, the power is fairly evenly distributed across the heats. I can't really see from just looking at the heats on the paper that there is any curve where you start strong and you finish strong. It's a rather even distribution. So I think for me personally, and for plenty of other people, it would be very interesting to see how Loreen is going, and will she have a success, or what will happen. So of course the suspension will be very high for Heat 4, which is as intended. But there are many other interesting things. In Heat 2 we have Maria Sur, for example, and she's from Ukraine and moved to Sweden because of the war. A very young and talented singer. Will a lot of people vote for her out of sympathy, out of her skill? How will that happen? So there are many interesting questions to be answered.
So thank you. We are going to ask you about question about our audience. Okay. So the first question is from Aitor RM, who is a listener of Melody Live. So the question is, as we know, Marcus and Martinus are Norwegian artists who are well known throughout Scandinavia, including Sweden. For example, in previous editions of the Italian Sanremo, Spanish or Swiss artists have been invited. Do you think this could be a new stage for Melody Festival and to involve more successful Scandinavian artists?
Thanks for a good question. It's a bit different this year that we have Maria Sur from Ukraine, we have Marcus and Martinus from Norway, and we have Laurel from Canada. They are, for different reasons, participating in Melodi Festivalen. Because they think that the Swedish market is relevant for them, or they're living here, or something like that. We haven't had a lot of that before. In around 2005, there were a number of foreign acts in Melodi Festivalen, and they weren't doing very well. So we kind of stopped having them. But then in recent years, we had Margaret from Poland who went to the final. We had Ashley Haynes in the Mamas who won as part of the Mamas. So we've seen that maybe the times have changed. Sweden has had a huge immigration during the last few decades. The demographic is changing. Maybe we should have more international acts now. Maybe this year will provide the answer to this, both from the Nordic countries, but also from other parts of the world.
The next question is from Martin Saez del Val. He's working in our radio, and we have plenty of program, and especially and specifically we have a program we are working together, which is called Lisboa Live. We are talking about Festival da Canção. It's the Portuguese pre-selection too. So the question of Martin is, do Southern European song festivals such as the Italian Sanremo and the Portuguese Festival da Canção influence the Melfest in any way? Particularly, these two festivals select the songs with the purpose of representing the national music industry. Is this the same criteria for the Melodi Festivalen?
Sweden would culturally look very much towards the US for musical influences and TV show influences and stuff like this. So partly because of the language and partly due to other cultural reasons. So Sweden is very Americanized. So I'm afraid that Swedish TV they are not looking a lot at European TV shows, apart from maybe the UK. So I don't think they are influenced by Festival da Canção or Sanremo.
And so the second question is particularly that these two festivals select the song with the purpose of representing the national music industry. So is the same criteria for the Melodi Festivalen?
Yeah, definitely. The purpose in Melodi Festivalen is to really mirror what's going on in the Swedish music scene at that time, and to be as contemporary as possible. Melodi Festivalen used to have a problem that we were lagging several years in fashion, and there has been a big project for many years to become up to date, and you can see very much in the music now that things sound like songs that are very popular in these days. You can even see that they must have been inspired by this song or this artist. So it's very much so in Melodifestivalen, and that's deemed very important because the songs are supposed to become hits, especially on Spotify and streaming platforms like that.
Okay, so thank you, Gustav. So we are going to pass to another block, which is called Benidorm Fest and Christer Björkman. So the first question is, following the line of Melodifestivalen, what do you think about Spain continuing with the Benidorm Fest, which is a preselection? So preselection model.
I think for Melodifestivalen in Sweden, the most important key to success has been the consistency, like using the same name and a competition format that's similar and recognized. Because Eurovision Song Contest is coming back every year, so why changing the selection model all the time so that the general audience will not recognize it? So consistency is important because Eurovision is consistent, and I think Spain is onto something there with a festival that continues every year and comes back. So the second year, more people will recognize it, and for every year it will gain attention and knowledge among the general public. So I think it's a good idea, and I hope it will be successful.
So thank you for to say these beautiful things, Gustav. So okay, thank you. So the next question is about Christer Björkman. So it has been confirmed at Benidorm Fest that Christer Björkman will be an international juror, to which we wonder if he has any connection with the SVT after the American Song Contest.
Christer Björkman is not working at SVT anymore, so he doesn't have any formal connections to SVT. It's like Karin Gunnarsson, who has his job more or less nowadays. They are sending some text messages to each other, but she doesn't feel that she needs to ask him about things, generally speaking, for a season. So he's off to his own projects now as a format owner for the Eurovision TV shows when he tries to put them in the US, in Canada, in South America, and maybe other places. So that's what he's doing mainly these days. But to have him as a juror on the national final is a great thing. And if I had a national final for a country, I would sure want to invite him, because he's probably the best that we got in finding out what will work in Eurovision.
Okay, so Gustav, we are going to finish this interview, and we have to say, as always, thank you very much for everything, and remember, this is your home, and we hope to have you back very soon here.
Well, it was my pleasure, and thanks for having me. I would just like to say, hola a todos, disfruta el Melodifestivalen 2023. Saludos cordiales desde SVT.
So, tack så mycket, Gustav. Happy Melodifestivalen, and we hope to see you back, maybe after the Melodifestivalen, to check the statistics.
Insights.
I would be happy to. There's always a lot to discuss after Melodifestivalen. So yeah, glad Melodifestivalen.
Glad Melodifestivalen. Hej då!
Hej då!